Have you ever stopped to help a stranger? On a cold, rainy night, when you were all alone, when every voice in your head said, "Don't stop." But still, you stopped, not knowing that one simple choice would change your entire life. This is the story of Evelyn Carter, an ordinary woman who never thought she'd become the center of attention in a small American town, who never thought an act of kindness could be punished and then repaid in a way no one could have imagined. It all started on a rainy October night. The rain had been pouring since late afternoon. The streets around Ashwood were slick and empty. Evelyn was driving her old red car, heading home from a long day. She had just attended a parent-teacher conference, and it had been exhausting. Evelyn was an elementary school teacher. She lived alone, in a small wooden house on the edge of town. It had been 3 years since her divorce. Her ex-husband had a new family now. Their only son had moved to another state with his father. Evelyn chose to stay in Ashwood, a tiny town where everyone knew everyone, where rumors spread faster than rain. And that night, the rain was relentless. Her headlights barely cut through the downpour. Cedar Creek Road was deserted, not a soul in sight, until she saw him, a hunched figure, walking along the roadside, head down, clothes soaked in mud, an old torn military jacket, a backpack dripping with water. He was limping. His left leg seemed injured. In that moment, every warning sounded in Evelyn's mind. Don't stop. It's dark. A stranger. What if it's a trap? But then, a memory surfaced. Her brother, Jack, a Marine, killed in Afghanistan. When he came home, it was only in a flag-draped coffin. Evelyn knew how soldiers felt, when no one would look at them, when no one would help, when no one saw them as human. A quiet voice inside whispered, "Jack would never forgive me if I left him there." Evelyn took a deep breath, lightly tapped the brakes. The car slowed to a stop. She rolled down the window. "Do you need help?" Her voice trembled. The soldier looked up, young but hollow-eyed. Rain streamed down a scar on his cheek, his eyes deep and weary. "I don't want to bother anyone." His voice was rough. "It's no bother," Evelyn said softly. "You shouldn't be walking in this weather." He hesitated, looking around in disbelief, then nodded slightly. "Thank you." He walked slowly toward the car, his hands trembling as he opened the door. He was soaking wet. The smell of damp clothes and dried blood filled the air. Evelyn glanced at him again. A real soldier. His jacket bore a Special Forces insignia. The backpack was marked U.S. Army. She eased the car back onto the main road, glanced at him again. "I'm Evelyn, and you?" "Ethan Ward." He answered quietly. "I just got out of the hospital." Evelyn asked no more. She simply drove. Inside the car, silence reigned, except for the pounding rain and Ethan's labored breathing. After a while, she spoke softly. "Do you have anywhere to go?" Ethan shook his head. "No, I was walking to Wilshire. But I don't think I'll make it." Wilshire was more than 40 miles away. Impossible on foot. Evelyn gripped the steering wheel, thinking hard, then spoke quietly. "If you don't mind, you can rest at my house, just until the rain stops." Ethan stayed silent for a moment, then nodded slowly. "I know I shouldn't accept, but thank you." Evelyn drove toward her home. The rain kept pouring. Neither of them spoke. The air in the car was strange, tense, yet oddly peaceful. Ethan clutched his backpack, staring at the floor. Evelyn glanced at him now and then. His lips were pale, his fingers trembling. Something was wrong, not just the injury, perhaps something deeper. Inside, they turned onto a narrow road. Her small house appeared, a moss-covered roof, a front yard of daisies. She parked the car, looked at Ethan. "You're welcome to come in." Ethan nodded, his voice hoarse. "I won't stay long." They stepped inside. Warm air from the kitchen greeted them. The house was simple, but clean and cozy. Evelyn handed him a towel. "Dry off. I'll make some tea." Ethan gave a faint smile. "Thank you, really." She poured hot ginger tea, placed it on the table. Ethan sat down. His shoulders slowly relaxed. After a while, he spoke softly. "I was with the 75th Ranger Regiment, injured on a mission, released from the hospital. But no paperwork yet, no home, nowhere to go." Evelyn was stunned. She thought of her brother. He had faced the same days, coming home from war, with no one waiting, nowhere to belong. She said nothing, just poured more tea. Stay the night. We'll figure things out tomorrow. Ethan looked at her, eyes reddening. Thank you. No one helps me like this. They just look at me like a monster. Evelyn pressed her lips together, placed her hand on the table, and said gently, You're not a monster, just someone who needs rest. That night, Ethan slept on the sofa. Evelyn added a warm blanket, left a glass of water nearby, then quietly went to her room. She couldn't sleep, thinking of Ethan, thinking of Jack. Through the heavy rain, she heard his steady breathing, and her heart felt warm. 1 month after Ethan's return, 1 month after Ethan came back, life seemed to settle again. Evelyn returned to her work. Her heart felt lighter. The little house remained warm. The photo of Ethan on the wall, a daily reminder for her. But then, a new storm came. One morning, she received a letter in the mail, a thick envelope. No sender. Inside a stack of documents, all legal papers. A company called Ridge Holdings claimed to own part of her land, specifically the garden behind her house. They included an old contract, signed over 20 years ago. Evelyn was stunned. She had never known about this. That garden was where Jack once played, where she grew roses, where veterans often gathered. She couldn't bear to lose it. She rushed to City Hall to meet Greg, the longtime records clerk. Greg, what is this about? Greg flipped through the files, frowning deeply. This company buys old debts. They found an old loan from your father, 1998. Evelyn's heart sank. But my father paid that off. Greg shook his head. They have paperwork. There's likely something shady, but you'll need a sharp lawyer to fight this. Evelyn went home, her hands gripping the papers, her mind racing. If she lost this case, she'd lose her beloved garden, lose the place tied to Jack, lose the haven for veterans. She couldn't let that happen. That evening, she texted Ethan, When you have time, please stop by. I need your help. Less than an hour later, there was a knock. Ethan walked in, seeing her face. He sat down. What's going on? Evelyn handed him the documents. Ethan read each page carefully. His face darkened. They're pulling a scam. I've heard of Ridge Holdings. They've done this to many families. She sighed. Is there anything we can do? Ethan looked determined. Yes, but we have to move fast. We need someone who knows the law, and we need to go public. The next morning, Ethan made calls everywhere, reached out to old comrades, asked them for intel. A day later, an old soldier named Reggie arrived. Reggie had worked as an investigator, knew these scams well. He studied the papers. There are clear signs of forgery. We need to take this to court. Evelyn looked worried. But I don't have money. I can't afford a good lawyer. Reggie smiled gently. You helped Ethan. Now it's our turn to help you. Let us handle this. Evelyn was overwhelmed, speechless. That afternoon, Reggie contacted a military lawyer. 1 week later, a lawsuit was filed. Evelyn signed her name, her hand trembling slightly, but her eyes were full of resolve. At the same time, Ethan wrote a post, telling how Evelyn once helped him, sharing what Ridge Holdings was doing. The post spread fast online. Veteran communities were outraged. Many voices rose in support. We won't let Evelyn face this alone. She saved one of our own. We stand with her. Ridge Holdings didn't expect this backlash. They hired aggressive lawyers, tried to pressure the court. But this time, they faced the veteran community. Not so easy to bully. On the first court day, hundreds of veterans gathered, wearing old uniforms and hats, standing outside the courthouse, holding banners. Justice for Teacher Evelyn. Stop the scammers. Evelyn wept. She had never imagined one small act of kindness could bring such powerful support. Inside the courtroom, Evelyn's lawyer laid it out. The 1998 contract showed signs of forgery. The signature was expertly faked. Their evidence was weak. Veterans provided more proof. Other families had been scammed by Ridge. The court postponed ruling for further investigation. But this was already a big win. After the hearing, Ethan squeezed Evelyn's hand. Don't worry, we're not backing down. She smiled. Thank you, because of you. I'm no longer alone. That night, by her window, Evelyn wrote in her journal, Today I learned something new. Kindness doesn't just save lives, it connects hearts and builds a strength beyond measure. A week-long recess to allow more evidence to be reviewed. Evelyn could breathe just a little, but she knew the battle was far from over. 3 days later, a strange article appeared on the Ashwood Times front page. Headline screamed, "Teacher Evelyn's father once in bad debt." The article detailed an old loan story, quoted anonymous sources from Ridge Holdings, implying her father's debt was real. Evelyn read it in shock. She had never known this. Her father had never mentioned it. An old wound, now ripped open, before the whole town. That afternoon, she went to the cemetery, sat by her father's grave. Silent tears fell. "Dad, is it true? I don't know what to believe anymore." But deep inside, she trusted her father, a good man, who'd never hurt anyone. Back home, Ethan and Reggie were already waiting. Both looked grave. "You saw the article?" Evelyn nodded. "They're trying to mess with your head. They want you to give up," Ethan said firmly. "We can't let them win." Reggie added, "We've contacted some old buddies. One of them investigated Ridge Holdings before. He has important info." The next day, a man came to see them. His name Franklin, a retired FBI agent, now a veterans consultant. He brought a thick file. "Ridge Holdings runs these scams. At least 15 families. Mostly veterans' families or their next of kin." Evelyn sat frozen. "Why target me?" Franklin spoke slowly. "'Cause you're well known after Ethan's story. They want to send a message to the whole community. But we can fight back." At the same time, an old friend of Jack's reached out. Daniel Moore, a fellow veteran. He called Evelyn. "I heard what's happening. I can testify. Your dad paid that debt off. I helped him do it. It was the missing piece." Evelyn was emotional. "Thank you, Daniel. Will you come testify?" Daniel chuckled. "Of course. For Jack. For you. Court day 2. Tension ran high. Ridge brought new documents, trying to prove their contract was real. Evelyn's attorney fought back, pointed out many irregularities. Ridge's side looked rattled, but refused to back down. Then Daniel testified, took the stand, voice calm but strong. "Mr. Carter paid off that debt. I witnessed it. I have copies of the receipts." Ridge's lawyer objected. The judge allowed it. Receipts were verified, bank stamps clear. Ridge began to sweat. Their lawyer asked to delay the trial. This time, the judge refused, ordered proceedings to continue. That night, at home, Evelyn sat by the window, her eyes more determined than ever. Ethan sat beside her. "Are you tired?" She smiled faintly. "Tired, but I won't back down." Reggie gave Ethan's shoulder a light punch. "With her here, we'll fight harder." The team huddled, Franklin suggested. "We need to release more info. Keep the public on our side. Ridge hates bad publicity." Ethan agreed. "Leave it to me." Next day, Ethan posted a new update, with courtroom photos, exposing Ridge's shady tactics. The post spread fast. Veteran groups shared it widely. Many sent letters of support. "We stand with Ms. Evelyn. She saved our brother, now we stand with her." Justice for Evelyn Carter. 1 week later. Final court session. Veterans showed up again, even more than before, carrying signs. "Justice for teacher Evelyn. No more corporate scams." Evelyn entered the courtroom, heart pounding, but her eyes shone bright. The judge read the verdict. After reviewing all evidence, this court finds the contract fraudulent. All claims dismissed. The land rightfully belongs to Ms. Evelyn Carter. The room erupted. Thunderous applause. Evelyn burst into tears. She couldn't hold it in. Ethan hugged her tight. "We did it." After the hearing, Ridge faced administrative penalties, had to cover legal costs. More importantly, Evelyn's reputation was cleared. Her beloved garden was safe. That evening, Evelyn hosted a small gathering. Veterans filled her home, laughter and joy all around. Reggie raised his glass. "To kindness, to Ms. Evelyn, to all of us." Evelyn looked at them, voice thick with emotion. "Thank you all. Without you, I wouldn't have stood this strong." Ethan whispered, "You taught us this. Kindness holds great power." 1 month after Ethan returned, everything seemed to have calmed down. Evelyn went back to work. Her heart felt lighter. The little house remained warm and cozy. The photo of Ethan hung on the wall, a daily reminder. But then, a new storm arrived. One morning, she received a letter from the post office, a thick envelope, no sender. Inside was a stack of documents, all legal papers. A company called Ridge Holdings sent a notice of land seizure, claiming the garden behind her house belonged to them. Attached was an old contract, signed over 20 years ago. Evelyn was stunned. She had never heard of this. That garden was where Jack once played, where she planted roses, where veterans gathered. How could she lose it? She rushed to City Hall to see Greg, a longtime records clerk. Greg, what is this about? Greg flipped through the files, frowning. This company buys up old debts. They found an old loan from your father, dated 1998. Evelyn's heart sank. But my father paid it off. Greg shook his head. They have papers. There's probably some trickery, but you'll need a good lawyer to fight this. Evelyn drove home, gripping the documents tightly, her head spinning. If she lost this fight, she'd lose her beloved garden, lose the place tied to Jack, lose the veterans' gathering spot. She couldn't let that happen. That evening, she texted Ethan, "When you have time, can you stop by? I need your help." Less than an hour later, a knock on the door. Ethan walked in, seeing her pale face. He sat down. "What's going on?" Evelyn handed him the papers. Ethan read through them carefully. His face grew grim. "They're pulling a scam. I've heard of Ridge Holdings. They've done this to many families." She sighed. "Do you know what we can do?" Ethan looked determined. "Yes, but we have to act fast. We need someone who knows the law, and we need to go public." The next morning, Ethan made calls, reaching out to old comrades, asking for information. A day later, an old soldier named Reggie arrived. Reggie was a former investigator. He knew all about scams. He examined the documents. Definitely signs of forgery. "We need to take this to court," Evelyn worried. "But I can't afford a top lawyer." Reggie smiled. "You helped Ethan. Now it's our turn to help you. Leave it to us." Evelyn was speechless. That afternoon, Reggie contacted a military attorney. A week later, a lawsuit was filed. Evelyn signed the papers. Her hand trembled slightly, but her eyes were resolute. At the same time, Ethan wrote a post online, sharing how Evelyn had helped him and exposing Ridge Holdings' scheme. The post spread rapidly. The veterans community was outraged. Many voiced their support. "We won't let Ms. Evelyn be wronged. She saved one of our own. We stand with her." Ridge Holdings hadn't expected this. They hired a tough lawyer, trying to pressure the court. But this time, they faced a united veterans community. Not easy prey. On the first court day, hundreds of veterans showed up, wearing old service caps, standing before the courthouse, holding banners. "Justice for Ms. Evelyn. No victory for scammers." Evelyn was moved to tears. She never imagined a small act of kindness would bring such strength. In the courtroom, her lawyer presented the case. The 1998 contract showed clear forgery. The signature had been expertly faked. The opposing evidence was weak. Veterans provided additional proof. Many families had been tricked by Ridge. The court ordered an investigation. It was an early victory. After the hearing, Ethan held Evelyn's hand. "Don't worry, we won't back down." She smiled. "Thank you. Because of you, I'm not alone anymore." That night, by her window, Evelyn wrote in her journal, "Today I learned something new. Kindness doesn't just save lives. It connects hearts and builds unexpected strength." Winter had arrived in Ashwood. Cold winds swept through rooftops. Trees stood bare and lifeless. Yet somehow hearts felt warmer. After winning the lawsuit, the veteran community grew even stronger. Evelyn became their guiding light. But new storms were brewing. One afternoon, Ethan arrived at Evelyn's house. His face looked troubled. "Ms. Evelyn, something's not right." Evelyn poured some tea. "What is it, Ethan?" Ethan placed a folder down. "The government is cutting funding. Many veteran centers will close." Evelyn froze. "How can they do that?" Ethan sighed heavily. "Politics. They say other priorities come first." Reggie soon arrived, bringing more news. "It's not just Ashwood. Centers across the state are affected. Evelyn clenched her hands. We can't let this happen. So many veterans need these centers. Ethan nodded. I know, but someone has to lead. Reggie looked at Evelyn. You're our strongest voice. Evelyn sat in silence, staring at the frosted garden, then spoke firmly. I won't just stand by. We will fight this. The next day, Evelyn, Ethan, and Reggie held a community meeting, inviting local veteran families. The center was packed. Everyone looked worried. Evelyn took the stage, her voice steady. We cannot stay silent. If they cut funding, we must speak out. We must fight like we've fought before. Applause filled the room. Some older veterans wiped tears. An elderly veteran stood. I'm no longer young, but I will stand with you. The movement spread fast. Evelyn formed an advocacy group. Petitions were sent to lawmakers. The community signed in droves. Media outlets picked up the story. Major headlines read, Tiny Woman Big Fight for Veterans. Ethan worked tirelessly, but he battled inner struggles. Sleepless nights haunted him. Nightmares of war returned. One evening, Evelyn found him outside, sitting silently on the steps. She sat beside him. You're not okay, are you? Ethan forced a smile. I'm fine, just tired. Evelyn placed a gentle hand. You don't need to hide. Here we're family. Ethan's voice cracked. Sometimes I wonder, if I hadn't met you, maybe I wouldn't feel this way. Evelyn met his eyes. You're alive. You've done so much, and you'll do even more. The next day, Evelyn arranged therapy sessions for Ethan's healing. At first he hesitated, but seeing her gaze, he nodded softly. I'll try. For you, for all of us. The campaign pressed on. Media coverage intensified. State lawmakers felt the heat. Finally, the decision changed. Funding was fully restored. Veteran centers would remain open. The community celebrated. A victory party filled the center. Evelyn was invited to speak. She faced the crowd. Her voice trembled with emotion. We've won, not for one person, but for everyone. Thunderous applause followed. Ethan watched from the crowd, smiling for the first time. Hope sparkled in his eyes. After the event, Ethan approached her, handing a small envelope. Ms. Evelyn, I have something for you. She opened it slowly. Inside a small card. Thank you. Because of you, I want to keep living and help others too. Evelyn hugged him tightly. If you ever need me, I'll always be here. Spring returned to Ashwood. Flowers bloomed across town. The air grew warmer, but hearts grew warmer still. The Veterans Center was buzzing. New activities filled the calendar. Evelyn continued her visits, teaching life skills to veterans, listening to their stories. One day, the elementary school principal called. Evelyn, we have a new program. We'd love you to be part of it. She asked. What kind of program? The principal smiled. An inspiration day for the students. We'd like you to speak. Evelyn thought long and hard. But in the end, she agreed. It was a rare chance to plant seeds of kindness for the next generation. The event was held in the auditorium. Hundreds of students attended. Evelyn stepped on stage. Looking at their young faces, she spoke softly. Today, I'll tell you a true story, not a fairy tale, but a story about kindness. She spoke of that rainy night, of Ethan, of the days she faced judgment, of her journey to never give up. The children sat quietly. Some wiped away tears. A little girl raised her hand. Miss Evelyn, what if you hadn't stopped that night? Evelyn smiled gently. Perhaps someone would have been lost. Perhaps one more light of kindness would have dimmed. That's why, no matter what others say, always choose to do what's right. Even the smallest act. After her talk, many students hugged her. One boy said, I'll always help others, just like you did. Evelyn's eyes welled up. This was her greatest hope. That afternoon, returning home, she found a package at her door, labeled from a friend. Inside, a framed photo. Ethan teaching a group of children. Below it read, Mr. Ethan Ward, inspiring the next generation. Tears streamed down Evelyn's face. She never imagined Ethan would choose this path. Soon after, she received a message from Ethan himself. Miss Evelyn, because of you, I found myself again. Now I want to pay it forward by teaching kids, so they never lose their way like I once did. On a bright morning, Evelyn visited the Veterans Center. Ethan was guiding a group of kids. When he saw her, he came over. "You're here." Evelyn hugged him lightly. "I'm so proud of you." Ethan smiled. "I learned from the best." That evening, Evelyn wrote in her journal, "Sometimes, one small act in the rain can create great waves. It's not that we save others, often they save us. Together, we plant seeds of goodness." Life lesson. In life, there will be moments of choice between your own comfort and reaching out to help another. There will be times you're misunderstood, criticized for doing good, but don't hesitate. Don't let fear stop you, because you never know. One small act can save a life and inspire generations to come. Always choose what's right, even when no one's watching. One day, that choice will light your own way.